Agents DeNozo and McGee on the scene.
Thanks for getting here so quickly. The victim is a white male, early to mid-30s, and was found face down by a neighbor lady in a pile of leaves this morning.
This morning? Why weren't we notified sooner?
According to her statement, she thought he was taking a nap, and she didn't want to wake him.
Sounds like she's up to something. I say we interview her. Yeah, she's a witness. Or a murderer. Why'd you kill him? Was it for the money?
I'm sorry, young man. Could you speak up? I'm a little hard of hearing. Old age, you know.
How'd you do it? Poison him, shake him, spill it, Wrinkles? DeNozo, what are you doing? This woman's hiding something!
I don't understand, officers. I've told you everything I know. Bert was a nice young man, bringing me pies all the time, but he was kind of sickly and skinny too. You know, people not eating their vegetables these days. And he did seem tired all the time, and in pain constantly.
DeNozo, this interview is over. I have news from the lab. We have to go.
Agents, I have the results from the autopsy.
It was the old dame, I knew it.
DeNozo, we've talked about this. If you can just be quiet for a minute, Bert wasn't murdered.
Impossible.
DeNozo, McGee, have you ever heard of a lethal allele?
Wait a minute, isn't an allele a form of a gene that is located on a chromosome that codes for a trait that can be passed on from parent to offspring?
Yes! Hit it, DeNozo! Some alleles are lethal when both identical copies are found in the gene. This means that they're recessive for lethality.
I don't follow.
Okay. Here's an example of recessive lethal alleles. In this case, we have two parent mice, both heterozygous for the lethal allele, meaning that each mouse has one mutant recessive lethal allele and another dominant normal allele. When these two mice mate, we get four possible outcomes. Half of the offspring will be heterozygous, and thus will be yellow but alive. A quarter will be the wild-type coat color, but the other quarter will die during embryonic development, having homozygous recessive alleles. The ratio of alleles seen in this offspring will be 2 yellow to 1 wild-type, instead of the expected 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, because the other quarter wasn't brought to term.
But what does this have to do with our victim?
Well, you see, both of Bert's parents must have been heterozygous for the lethal trait, and Bert seems to have inherited 2 copies of the lethal allele, one from each parent.
Okay, but if he was homozygous for the lethal allele, then how did he survive embryonic development?
Well, not all lethal alleles terminate during embryonic development. Some have a later onset of lethality.
I refuse to believe that our victim died of some mouse disease.
DeNozo, you're really dense sometimes. There are a lot of diseases that involve lethal alleles that affect humans, including brachydactyly, Tay-Sachs, and cystic fibrosis. And there's even one that's dominant for lethality, and that's Huntington's disease, which means that only one allele needs to be inherited from a single parent.
So what's your verdict?
Well, from the witness statements, it says that he was exhausted, sickly, and in pain. So in my professional opinion, it seems that he inherited 2 recessive alleles and died of sickle cell anemia.